We understand that if someone was betrayed, beaten, abused in childhood, they're gonna have psychological problems. But we also see some people who seemingly have perfect childhood. They were like the chosen child, everyone loved them, and still they have psychological problems. What is emotional incest? We all know what is sexual incest. It's when a parent can use their child to satisfy their sexual needs. And everyone knows this is not right, but there are many other forms of incest that are also very harmful for children and for parents as well, and for the whole family. Emotional incest is when an adult satisfies their emotional needs through child. How can they do that? First variation is when a parent behaves as if their child is their partner. They go to movies together, they hold hands, they talk about everything and nothing, they spend a lot of time together. Such child can feel this weirdness, as if they are going on a date with their parent. Very often, a lonely woman would find such husband in her son and would never let him go away from her because she compensates her needs. Second variation of emotional incest is when parent uses a child as a best friend or psychotherapist. They can take them to parties, let them try alcohol very early, talk about the adventures of the youth, about their sexual life, and they can complain about many boyfriends or girlfriends they had and seek advice and support from this child and put the responsibility for their feelings and for consoling them on the child. Should parents then hide their bad feelings? No, absolutely not. This is gaslighting. If, for example, mother is upset, her son or daughter can see that she is upset and they ask her why, and she says, no, I'm not upset, it's just cutting onions or something like that, then this child starts doubting their own thinking. They start doubting their own judgment, and it disturbs this trust in his own ability to understand others and his own ability to understand the world. So it is much better to say that, yes, I am upset because of this, this and that. But the difference between healthy relationship and emotional incest is that in healthy relationship, adult says that I am upset, but I can handle it. It is not your problem. It is not your responsibility. I am an adult, I will handle it. If I need help, I will go to other adults and ask for this help. I do not need you to worry about this or to console me or to help me in any way. An emotional incest parent would use this child to find consolation, to find love, to find warmth, to find empathy, but the child is not ready to bear such a burden. It's too much for them. Number 3 is admiring your child and seeing him or her as some genius, hoping that he or she would do what you didn't have opportunity to do in your life, and kind of living through your child. This has very harmful consequences, I will tell you later. Number 4 is when child is a scapegoat. Just like in the previous one, parent wants to live through their needs of importance, they want to realize their dreams through the child, but they think that this child is not good enough. So they start attacking this child, calling him names and being very irritated with his imperfection, because they don't want to achieve things on their own in life. They want to live through their child, and the child is not good enough. Number 5 is sexualized emotional incest. Everyone knows that having sex with children is not correct. Sexualized emotional incest is going just on that line. Parent and child do never have sex and start making comments that imply that she's sexually attractive, even like in a joking way. Or parent can take this child for shopping and make sure to dress them in the way they like. So sexualized incest are like comments about sexual attractiveness, are weird touching, weird staring, and keeping some naked photos or showing erotic movies but that are not actually porn but kind of close to it. So all this weird relationship going on. A huge difference between emotional incest and love is that in emotional incest, parent doesn't really love that child. They don't really see that child. They're so close to that child that they cannot see their needs. And any child doesn't only have needs for sweets, presents and praise. No, they need discipline, they need some boundaries, they need hierarchy, they need safety. And with a parent who's engaged into emotional incest, child gets to this adult level to which he or she is not ready, and they don't have this feeling of safety. They don't have this protection, they don't have this discipline, and it's very harmful for them. Emotional incest is also very dangerous because it is based on gaslighting. On the surface, your parent loves you. On the surface, you seem ungrateful if you rebel. But if you go deeper, you're not really loved, you're not really noticed. Your parent doesn't really want to get to know you. They want you to play a role they designed for you in their head. And such a child deep inside can be very deeply lonely, and they can feel so unnoticed. If your parent beats you or mistreats you, you can easily notice it. You can easily say that this is wrong. But if your parent surrounds you with seemingly love, with presence, with attention, but at the same time makes you betray yourself, makes you disconnect from yourself, this is very difficult to process. Many such children imagine that their childhood was totally perfect, that they were very much loved, and they cannot understand why they have some problems in life. What are the consequences of emotional incest? First of all, huge fluctuation in self-esteem. One day they feel like they're genius, one day they feel like they can achieve whatever they want, and they feel so powerful and smart and attractive and excellent. Another day they feel like complete nothing, like a loser, and they cannot find this stability. Their self-esteem is constantly up and down, up and down. Second, it is also difficult for them to fit into society, to fit into group, because ever since childhood they did not spend much time with peers. On one hand, it's good that they spend so much time with their parent, learned to speak about more complicated things, to think more complicated way, and they intellectually develop faster. And in some way they have this deep feeling of being special because they were so special for their parent. But on the other hand, it's often difficult for them to find friends, it's often difficult for them to fit into a group of peers. They either think of themselves as worse than everyone else, or they think of themselves as better, much better than anyone else, and it's constantly fluctuating. Third, such children lose connection with themselves because ever since childhood they're used to doing, to liking, and even to feeling and thinking what their parents want them to. They have to discover who they are and to create who they are, and this can be very difficult. Next consequence, especially for sexualized incest, eating disorders are very, very common. It can be anorexia. When, for example, a girl starts having more feminine body and her father starts paying attention to this, she starts to associate being grown up, being a woman, having this body with something filthy, with this unwanted attention, and she wants to kind of lose her weight back into her child's body, to become smaller so that her father or other men or other people leave her alone. Or on the opposite, she can start eating a lot to become fatter and not so attractive to her father. But in that case, her father starts criticizing her body, and it also is very harmful. Another consequence of incest is that your boundaries are crushed. Such a child who suffered, for example, from sexualized incest, they no longer have a very clear sense of boundaries, of what is okay and what is not. They can easily become victims of pedophiles or of date rape and such. And in general, people who went through emotional incest and people in whose family boundaries were violated, they have problems with their boundaries. Either they are too soft, so they share too much, they open too much, and they can be a bit of emotional exhibitionist, like telling very personal things to people they hardly know. On the other hand, they can have very strong boundaries, avoid any intimacy, avoid any closeness, because they remember how in their intimate relationship with the parent they had to abandon themselves to satisfy that person. they do not believe they can be authentic and happy while being close to others, and they put a huge wall around them. Or they can be fluctuating. In one moment they seek this very intimate closeness and they open up too much, they share too much, they allow others too much. In the other moment they realize that this is too much and they instantly put a huge boundary. People can also have problems with anger management because often they were not allowed to show any anger in their childhood, and they can also suffer later on from their coping mechanism. Like, for example, this anorexia and overeating is a coping mechanism. Another coping mechanism can be lying. Another coping mechanism can be people pleasing, or coping mechanism can be instantly starting to shout because, for example, their parent didn't understand a calm no, so they had to shout to protect their boundaries. More than that, emotional incest, especially sexualized, have a lot of consequences for later on romantic and sexual life. First of all, they might want to change one partner after another because child and parent relationship are already very powerful and very close. If you add emotional incest to this, it becomes so very powerful, and the emotions children have there are enormous, and they seek to feel those emotions again, and they seek for this person who can satisfy those needs. But they find that in adult world, the more independent they are, the less passion like this they can develop. So they change one partner after another because they just get bored without this huge high from emotion. For their future partner, it can be difficult because a chosen child is used to be the center of attention, and they might not be used to considering the needs of others all the time. Sex life can also be messed up. Deep inside, they might still feel like their husband or wife is their parent, and they don't want to betray them. They kind of invested with their heart in their relationship with their parents still, and they are not separated, so they cannot invest themselves into a new relationship. Secondly, they might associate this emotional and physical closeness with family. Like, for example, somebody grows up in a sexualized incest or just in a relationship with a parent who constantly touches them and interferes into their intimate space. They cannot allow themselves to feel sexually attracted to their parent, so they can cut their sexual attraction altogether. They can be like asexual because if they open it up, they're gonna feel the sexual attraction to their parents. And this is a taboo in our society. If, for example, they get into a relationship, they can associate kissing, touching, hugging with something like family, with their parents. And this doesn't turn them on. On the contrary, they might feel weird disgust, so it can be quite difficult for their future relationships. Which parents are most prone to getting into emotional incest? First of all, single parents, especially single parents who don't have friends, who don't have a support group, who don't have enough hobbies and enough of life of their own. They start living through their child. If you're a single parent, it is possible to avoid emotional incest. Just make sure that you have your own life, that you maintain hierarchy with your child. If you have any emotional needs, you go to other adults to meet them and not to your own children. Second risky factor can be that it's a single child. And third factor, if your parents suffered from drug, alcoholic addiction, or if they had mental illness, they were not able to take care of their own needs and take care of your needs, so you had to be this adult in the family. It is also important to know that emotional incest doesn't just happen between one parent and one child, it influences the whole family. If that parent has a partner but is playing in husband and wife with their child, this partner is going to be mad, they're going to be angry, they're going to be jealous. But the problem is that it's so subtle, not obvious at all. To the outsiders, it might seem that this partner is creating a scandal out of nowhere. Like, what's the problem? Your husband loves your daughter so much. The same goes for the child. Other people say that they are spoiled, that they are ungrateful to their parents, that they have such a perfect family, such perfect parents. Why are they unhappy? They don't realize that there is manipulation, there is invasion, there is control, but all hidden in this kind of golden cage. Even the child himself or even the partner himself can blame themselves and think that they are bad people for having so much anger towards that parent, for having so much desire to go away from this parent. But in reality, of course, this anger is completely natural and normal reaction when your boundaries are being broken again and again and again. Jealousy can also touch other children in family. If there is this chosen child, other children can be so jealous that they can attack, beat them, humiliate them. They can also try to attract attention of their parents in different ways. Sometimes we see a family where one child has huge success in career and is an achiever, while another child is a criminal and a drug addict. The third child still remains close to their parent, goes to their house, cleans it, helps them with everything, but parents still don't love them as much as this chosen child. They all choose different strategies, but the goal is one: they try to attract the attention of their parent in some way. These children that don't have enough attention can also be very aggressive or rude in school. They can get into some subcultures, different groups, like different extremistic groups or criminal bands, just to feel this sense of belonging, just to find finally this family they lack. The world of emotional incest is full of mixed messages. Like, for example, mother can say to her son that you're so kind, you care so much about others, you never ask anything for yourself. On the surface, it seems like she's praising him, but if you go deeper, it can be seen that her hidden message is to say that don't bother me, stay nice. I don't want you to be angry, I don't want you to be sad. Remain as you are because I'm comfortable with the way you are. Parents also do contradicting things. They are codependent with their child and they give them money, give them a place to live, feed them, but every time they do, they remind them that they are not good enough, that it's only thanks to them that they have all that. Parents can even think that they want their child to be independent, that they want their child to be successful. But in reality they don't, because they gain this sense of power of being the provider. Also because their child might be their only purpose in life, they feel this huge emptiness. While they have children, they play this role of mother and father, and they interact with each other only as mother and father, and they've already forgotten who they are except for these roles, and they don't really have any connection between themselves except for discussing their children and living through their children. And if their children go away, parents might realize that they're just strangers to each other and they will have to change their lives. So they keep their child dependent on them, often without even consciously realizing it. And in the same time, they blame the same child for being not adult enough, not mature enough. So why do parents engage in emotional incest? Of course, it's to satisfy their own needs that are deeply unmet. Maybe they also had traumatic childhood. Maybe in their family emotional incest was also present. And a huge factor is lack of information. They just didn't know it was harmful. This is why I think before having children, people should go through classes of child psychology and learn how it actually works, because children are not small adults and you cannot behave with them in that manner. So in this video I told you what emotional incest is, what are the consequences, how it influences the family. In the next one I will tell you how to fix these consequences, both for children and for parents. Make sure to subscribe not to miss it. Bye bye.